Welcome to I think this is episode 11. Yeah, I've been going for 11 weeks. Of the Let's Get Blunt podcast, where we roll up something sweet, pull up a seat, and get blunt about our healing. Before I get started today, we're also going to talk about our sponsor, as always, is Golden Earth Botanics. It is an alternative to dispensary focused on your healing first. It includes terpene-based tinctures and smoke rituals to aid in your healing, which is going to lead to a very good discussion today because we're about to discuss healing today with Shannon. Shannon, you could introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Shannon Deeds. I've actually known Ty for quite a while. I am just a woman who is a mother who found a little bit of healing in my life through the education of the body and then healing my children from their sickness into spiritual healing. So for the last about 12 years of our lives, we've been on a physical detox, spiritual detox. We have learned so much about our existence here with our families and our children, and just totally looking at life a whole different way. Other than that, I'm just glad to be here chatting with you today.
Thank you so much. So we pregame a little longer than normal. So this is going to be very interesting because we're both spiritual beings, and I know it was purposeful for the expansion of the energy. I am going to ask that spirit protect the devices from the energy so that we can navigate this. I felt the need to say that. So if we get too high, that spirit brings us back down a notch, that we're not fucking with this and that we're not causing one another harm either, right? Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be in bed for 2 days in recovery, you know?
Yes. Yeah, we were having glitches earlier, so I'm glad you did.
Yeah. So my question to you is, what got you into healing? Like, what was your slippery slope moment?
Okay, so
What started it?
it was actually, I think like 2010-ish. I had been on so many medicines for physical sickness. My son, my middle child, my first son had been very sick as an infant. So basically in 2010, we were two sick kids. My son had leaky gut syndrome. He had chronic diarrhea. He had burning pain in his body. He wouldn't sleep. I mean, this poor kid was miserable. He had chronic sinus infections, asthma. I had 3 precancerous polyps removed. I had high blood. I had a fatty liver. I had depression, psychosis, and borderline gout. I had induced vertigo from high blood. Like, I had all these.
You were living the life up to that point. Let me tell you, you had to be. You had to be living the life up to that point, because that's why it caused so much shit in your internal system, right? Because we're spiritual, right? So I also had shit from like 16, like breast cancer scare, cervical cancer scare, things like, and it's just like, God damn, like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And it's literally because we out here try to do human shit.
But you need a big
lot, and our body is just like, no, bitch, no.
Like, let it go. You got to get it out of your body somehow.
Mm-hmm.
You name it, and I had it. And then my son was sick. So
right.
So basically, when I came out of my colonoscopy at 28, and they told me, well, you're just going to have colon cancer by the time you're 30 because you have a grade D colon. It looks like that of a man who was 80 who drank his whole life. We don't know why. I was like, wait a minute. All I ever did my whole life as a military child was listen to y'all. Why don't you know what's wrong with me now? I walked out of that office. I was like, middle finger to the whole system. I was like, I don't know what I got to learn, but I'm going to learn something and I'm going to figure this out. And, you know, just the way the universe had everything conspired, I was working in the place with the colon hydrotherapy, but I'm an esthetician. So I was doing facials. I didn't know anything about colon. I was like, no, boss, you can't do that to me. That's gross. We don't do things like that. Like, it took 8 months of me working there to get on the table and like be comfortable. So like when people come in with their reservations, like anyhow, but you know, so yeah. I finally did it. And I'm going to tell you the real reason that I ever did it again. Because my first experience, I just mentioned how sick I was. My first experience was not like pleasant. It was
I'm sure.
Spiritually, it was like everything. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And so I slept for 2 hours afterwards. And when I got up, I was like, I'm never doing that again. Why would I do that? That's the most miserable experience. I took a deep breath. Oxygen went into my diaphragm. My back cracked. My body adjusted. My hips set. And I said, I can breathe better because I had a colonic. That's weird.
Right.
And my body was like, whoa. I was like, well, maybe I'll try that again. And here we are.
Well, maybe.
I just happened to get thrown right into the education for colonics, right? Like my boss was like, do you want to do this? 4 weeks after my first colonic, I was in school. What I learned there was an amazing thing. It's 100 hours, 150 hours of digestive anatomy, salivation to excretion. It's the freaking mechanics of a car. It is very simple the way that the body operates on the inside. And I was like, oh, if this is how the body operates, no wonder me and my family are sick. And I went crazy for about 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was in my house that couldn't be made by me. I grew a garden. I then, you know, like we started taking all these supplements, herbs, naturopath, magnet healers, energy heal, whatever was on a table that wasn't what they said would work. We tried. And in 3 years, I reversed our health completely from everything that I just mentioned. I went back for my scan 3 years later, and the doctor was like, oh, you lost a lot of weight. I was like, yeah, I'm a colon hydrotherapist. And he was like, no, I don't think that's great. And I said, okay. Got up there all proud, you know, let him get up in there. Just go ahead now. Like,
right.
Came back, I have an A colon. My colon's health was completely reversed. It was like this bright pink. He showed me the pictures. And I was like, yeah, okay. This is what we're going to do. Now we're just going to help people every day to whatever level of health that someone that comes across my path wants to be. I can assist them there, just guide them to the things that they need to do and learn about themselves. And then that turns into the spiritual aspect of it as well, because once your body is cleaner, your mind is clear, your spirit is clear, your gut is clear. So now the world is clear, everything. It just is, it's a beautiful, yeah.
Yeah. So like you said, but you also had to stand in the face of the doctors in the non-belief. People believe you? I'm sure they did it. I'm sure they did it.
No. And I've been very fortunate to not need the medical system with everything that I've learned. I don't, my kids were like 10 years, almost like antibiotic free. Like I can pretty much like take care of them. So we've been very fortunate in that aspect. So I've been able to avoid a lot of doctors, but in the beginning, there was a lot of push, a lot of criticism, a lot of, I pulled my son out of certain autism therapies because I thought they were abusive. And I was like, this isn't what.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I started, then I really got to the spiritual aspect of it too. And I was like, you know what? My son isn't even, nope, he is just a high being who is completely poisoned right now. Now let's take care of his physical body.
Yeah. And being a high frequency being is like a real thing. Because I remember telling you, when I initially got sick, that in my trial and error, when I went vegan, or close to raw, my seizures increased dramatically. So I remember telling you when I first got my first colonic, and I was like, that relief that I felt in my body, like you said, the clear-headedness, right? And you're like, yeah, go raw. I was like, let's pause. Because, it it increases my seizures. And I had to realize that when I transitioned, I looked at my seizures, and essentially the doctors was like, it's just electricity in your brain, right? And so I was like, God damn, I have so much excess fucking shit, because I was 2.5 years into my spiritual journey, where I was starting to claim myself, where I was starting to and so as soon as I did, and I was like, this is who I am, and it was like seizures. Like,
so but 2010 is when we started doing all this and getting the education and getting like healthier. And 2 years later is when I had the accident that gave me the seizures and the brain injury. 2 years.
Yeah, yes. And I looked at it, right? And at its core, I was like, if it feels like just an instant push off of energy, that's what my seizures feel like. I can feel it coming. Mm-hmm. And it's like, it just bubbles up and bubbles up. I can't stop it. I can try to go to sleep to reset it or whatever. But if I try to continue on, it's going to bubble up and bubble up and bubble up and bubble up until this big ass burst of energy comes out. I'll have seizures for like 30 seconds and then just poof, and I will sleep for hours. And it's like my system is resetting itself every fucking time. So now I try not to get to that point. And I was like, damn, I'm an energy container. And so since I get auras, I was like, damn, I can control my energy access then. So now that's how I don't have seizures. They ask, oh, are they gone? I was like, no, they're there. I've gotten myself to the point sometimes, but I know now how to master my energy and frequency, because I had to stop looking outward and start looking inward in my body.
Yeah.
And you start doing that. That's that physical, that was that slippery slope moment for me. What my slippery slope moment was getting pregnant. Before that, I, military, right out of high school, came back, military, going to school, then getting a job, it was very go, 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 go. I didn't have a social life. I went to school and I made money. That was my life before my daughter. It was just, then I got pregnant and something had me look into child-free, child-free, birthing, pain-free, not child-free, pain-free birthing, hypno babies.
Yep.
Look, I fucks with hypno babies. I will tell every fucking mom I come across about hypno babies. But when I accessed 70 some odd hours of childbirth with no pain, none, until I the last 2 hours was hell because I lost concentration because they told me she was stuck. And so fear creeped in. Fear creeped in, and that motherfucking wall of pain hit me like a ton of motherfucking bricks, because it was no lead up to the pain. I went the whole entire thing pain free. I was walking the halls, dancing, singing to Martin. The doctor was like, there's no fucking way. She's 8 centimeters dilated. And they're like, she is. Yeah, it is. And to the point, I had the nurse practitioner stay because she's just fucking baffled. I just need to see the rest of the process. She actually stayed to help give birth to my daughter because she just was in disbelief about the whole situation. So that my slippery slope was that. And then after that, self-meditation, self-hypnosis, this. And then it was let me get a psychic reading. Then I started getting psychic readings. And then one of the psychics was like, why are you asking me this? And I was like, what the fuck do you mean? And she's like, you're a medium. Like, you don't need to ask me, use your power. And I was like, nah, that's not me. And she explained my grandfather to a T. And I was like, she's like, he's saying it is you. And she was like, call this lady. And that it turns out to be Janet Blessings. I love her. I love Janet Blessings. I'll send everybody to her. And that was, what was that? That was 2013, 2012-ish, 2013-ish, all in that time. I had started having seizures in 2014. And so I had already been working with Janet for my mediumship for like a year and a half. And then one day I was like, this is who I want to be. And it led from there, and a lot of evolution, a lot of trust, a lot of faith, and to the point where there were times that I questioned myself in my own belief. What was a moment that you questioned yourself in your own belief, and how'd you navigate that?
First of all, I want to say I admire you too, because I have watched your spiritual growth, and I think about it often. Like, I would love to be as open about all of, like, we do the same things all day, every day. I just am not as communicative about it. And I love watching you be that way and just live in that authenticity. I think it's such a beautiful. And you asked me, what would you ask?
It was that moment that you questioned your own self or your own sanity in your spiritual growth.
Oh, so many times.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, like, girl.
It's probably, you want to know why? It's probably because it's always a constant thought.
Yeah.
I ask myself almost quarterly. I do a self-assessment of whether I am solid in how I'm navigating my life. Am I solid in how I'm moving in what I'm doing and all that other stuff? Because I am spirit-led. My whole existence is, I thought I saw somebody walking in back of you. God damn it. I probably did. But like, I swore somebody came from the other. I was like, well, sorry. But yeah, I check quarterly, and to check whether I'm in, like, I feel as if I'm in active psychosis or whether I am moving rationally in my spiritual journey, because I am not following external motivators. Mm-hmm. So it's hard when everything is internal. As a logical being, I'm the Virgo-ness. As a logical being, I question the source. Like, does this source show up in such a way that my consciousness is okay with? Right? Or am I being something, or am I being led by something outside of me that means me no good? Like, so I literally have to ask myself that all the time. I don't know if you go through those moments.
Oh, I definitely do. And it's like, I call it, I guess, when I speak to myself, it's like, what world am I living in? Like this 3D or this 5D? Like, what am my actions doing here? What is it? I would say that I analyze myself very similarly, because, well, the truth is, if you don't, how do you even really process anything that you're going through in life, right?
Yeah.
And it is a balance. We were talking about that earlier. Sometimes you do have to operate in all these different facets.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, you analyze. I'm like that all the time too. I'm a Taurus, so another earth sign.
Yeah, the earthiness, and just wants everything to make sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes when we're moving spirit-led, or we're moving with some might say their passion or their purpose, when they're moving that way, sometimes it goes against logic.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Know it to be, right? Using my childbirth as an example, my mom sat in on a couple of classes and my mom said, "This some bullshit." My mom said, as soon as those pains hit, you gonna be screaming or da-da-da. And the whole time she came with me at the hospital, she slept the whole time. Her and my mother-in-law went and got ice cream and shit from the cafeteria because they weren't needed.
Gotcha. You were just good.
They just couldn't fucking believe it, right? So it's to this day, my mom still don't understand it, but she said she will say, "I saw what I saw." I saw what I saw, and that's how I have to think about my intuitiveness. Spirit is checking me because they keep saying I try to sidestep my power by not calling it what it is because intuitive is more acceptable. So instead of saying my psychic abilities or my clairaudience, or I need to start owning those parts of me, that's another peel of the onion for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have to show. So, like, yes, as a psychic, as a medium, as a clairaudient, right? Sometimes it's hard for the shit to make sense in a rational world. And you don't know how it's going to happen, but it happens, and I can't deny the result. That's how I stay grounded.
I'm so glad
to deny the result.
Yeah, I'm so glad you went here because this is literally one of the things that I've been really processing. And because I mentioned to you that I have been having all these experiences, and I'm like, where am I really living? Like, am I living in this place of just knowing all these things, or it's just that whole process of going through that. And I do also know that everyone around me just says, "Oh, that's a Shannon thing." Like yesterday.
Yeah.
Time. You always call when I'm 4 minutes from your house. You always call when I just got into a car accident, or when I just got pulled over, or when my daughter just went in for surgery. Like, Shannon, you just always text me right when I was crying. How do you know? I'm like, here we are. That's not, like, and that was just one of the simple little things of like the connections, but it's all the time. And so it's definitely, you have to check yourself. You have to say, like, okay. And then I have this question that I discuss, and is it, do I know it's about to happen, or am I manifesting and it's about to happen? Which is the first?
Oh, yeah. Or did I cause it? Ooh. With some bad shit happens and you,
yeah,
like, did I fucking cause that? And like, yeah, it gets fucking weird.
So you had your gifts as a child too, right? So
yeah.
Stuff like that. I remember knowing someone was going to die, and then I thought, oh my God, I thought they were going to die, and then they died, and I was like, oh my, it was an older person, but I was a little kid. I was like, there's no way you could have done that.
But right, my gets it's as much as I think. Okay, I'm processing it. A pivotal moment in your power, when you stood in your power. There's a pivotal moment that happens where you're like, holy shit, like, this shit is for real. Like, I does this. You know what I'm saying? I could tell you one where my aunt was in the hospital. Her and I ended up really getting sick around the same time, actually. Unfortunately, she didn't make it through her spiritual rebirth process, right? And so both of her and I got sick around the same time, and she was in the hospital, and they were like, she's not in a coma, but she won't open her eyes. She won't talk. It was like she was just stuck. Mm-hmm. Right. And, I came to the hospital and I put everybody out the hospital room. me and my sister, me and my sister went in that room. I closed the door behind me. I did what I did. I told her I love her. And 24 hours later, she was talking. She had been that way for over a week. And they just couldn't, like, and now that I'm saying this because I'm a medium, that had to be one of the, she's saying it was the scariest moment of her life to be in limbo like that. Because she had crashed. But when they brought her back, she never got back in her body. Right? So when I came in, I had to ground her in her body because she had coded while I was on the phone with my aunt. And by the time I got there, they had brought her back, but she never came back. Right? So she was just in limbo, just existing. And she was like, it was the most fucked up time because she could still see everybody doing and moving and going. And when they called me to tell me that she woke up, immediate tears. Because there are moments that I heard her and like she literally will call my name and I would pick up the phone and call her and she'll be like, yeah, I just woke up. They told me I needed surgery. She go, how'd you, like, I said, cause you called me. And she like, I heard you clear as day call my name. And so I called you to see what was going on. Those were the moments where I said, I can't understand it, but I know that it's something. People might tell me, oh, placebo effect, right? I was like, even if it is, that means I still have such energetic power that I was able to get their body to accept that as a truth, because that's the only way placebo effect works.
Right.
If that person accepts it as a truth in their body.
Right.
So with me telling you, you are deserving of the world and waving my hands in front of you, gets you to accept that as a truth in your motherfucking body, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Placebo effect or energy healer. I don't give a fuck what you call it. The results is the results. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, what was your moment that it was like, does this bitch? Like, where it was like that most pivotal moment for you?
I've had a few. One was helping someone cross over, and I don't know that I particularly am like, I don't think that this was my specialty, but hey.
Yeah, you want to know why? It's because you travel both sides of the plane like I do. Because I am the family crossover person too. So, yeah.
So night, and it was very, not a dream, it was in a different space, and I was with someone, a man specifically, an older man, and we were watching whatever with his television view.
Right.
And he was just telling me all kinds of things. There's that jolly, sort of happy, good conversation. And I got very uncomfortable at some point when it got hectic in the room down there, and I awoke myself. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't, I'm not just asleep, right?
Right.
Well, I asked not to go back, and I did, and I went back. And we continued. And then I felt like my dream was probably, it was about 2 hours long, let's just say, the event, because I continuously tried to wake myself up out of it, because I didn't know what to do.
Right.
In that space. I don't think that I've really ever done that. And it stuck with me so much. I was explaining to my coworker that morning that I was energetically high because of what I was doing in that like all morning. And she was like, well, and as soon as I'm telling her about it and how it was very, like, I was sitting, it was a very angelic looking space, like a, vibrant. And whatever was going down underneath was very hospital room looking, you know, you could see that it was death, right? We were overlooking that scenario. And my phone goes ding, ding, ding. And a lifelong friend of mine says, my dad left us last night. And I was with is the structure and the things we were talking about was from my childhood, which makes sense because I've known this man when I was a child. And it just was, I was like, oh my God. And I'm telling Brittany, my coworker, I'm telling her right now exactly the part of the dream where it felt like death. And then the message comes through. It was just too many synchronicities. I dropped my phone. She looked at my phone. She goes, oh, and her whole body now. Right? Like that's the stuff where other people are
like, I can't deny it. You can't deny it when it shows fucking up.
And I was like, oh, damn. Well,
people will try to rationalize it, though.
Like, thank you for choosing me to ride with you. You know, like, yes, I'm aware that I do these things in the other planes, but I just never really participated in like such a voluntary like crossover that like even my physical body was like, whoa, this is intense. Get me out of here. Like, but yeah, no.
Right. Those are moments that, again, you just can't deny it. You will try to rationalize it, but I don't think we know enough about it to rationalize it. I mean, NSA has already released documentation that energy conversion of our auras and all that shit, it's a real fucking thing, right? That's why a person can walk in a room and automatically the energy drains from the fucking space, you know, or conversely, somebody walks into a room and it's all happy, cheery, and, you know, all that other stuff. But like, we do ourselves a disservice when we refuse new ideas that may not be founded in something concrete. Because we all know that we're energy and motion. Like, we learned that in elementary school. So that's not a fact that people are denying, right? We all know the plants and everything has a vibration. They have a frequency. They have, like, there's a lot of things going on that our human eyes can't see, our human ears can't hear, our human senses can't touch. We know that as a fact on science. We can't touch gravity. We can't, you know, like some shit we know it to be, but we don't know why it is, you know, and it's crazy that when it comes to, oh, I have tuned my ears to hear shit that you can't. That's crazy as fuck. Like,
ears, yeah.
You know, because if dogs can see shit that you can't see,
cats too.
There's a world out here that we're navigating every fucking day that has shit we can't see.
These avatars has boundaries. Like their perceptories only reach so far.
And so that, like, you know, this is how my expansive thinking works. I was an analyst. That's how my analytical mind works. It's like, if this is true, why can't this be true as well? So if
infinite possibility.
We're saying that you and I can look at the same rainbow and we will not see it the same way. That means that your reality and my reality are two different things. But when we say that, it's just like, oh no, bitch, you're crazy. You're absolutely fucking nuts. And it's like, no, that it's a truth. It's literally a truth.
Perception.
The version of reality is not anybody else's version of reality. That would conversely mean that we have billions of realities running at the same fucking time as this super mega fucking computer, right? And we just so happen to overlap sometimes. like that everybody's living in their own fucking buzzy ball
so very
bouncing off of each other, really, right? And if that's the case, then like
your breeze.
Yeah. So it's because these are elevated thoughts. That's what I'm.
Yeah. No, but your perspective.
These are very elevated thoughts. You know.
If I perceive your dress to be pink red, but you perceive it to be deep red, then it's the same. You're still, neither one of us are denying the same thing, but it's what we perceive, you know, like it's our.
But then a step further is if just because we can't see it or haven't experienced it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I've never been to Australia.
So does that mean
I only know Australia to exist because other motherfuckers told me it did.
Correct.
And I am just taking them at their word. They have showed me pictures. They have showed me.
I would tell you Australia.
I know it on the map where they say it is, and you know, but I've never seen it.
Correct.
So I don't get to say, "Oh, that shit doesn't exist," just because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, well, I saw it. Okay, but did you really? Or are we accepting it as a truth because we were presented evidence that our body was okay accepting as truth? I mean, shit, we could talk about the moon landing. Like, people are just like, how do we know that actually happened? Because we are to know that what they saw with the jumping was what is it? Like, they were acting out what they were hearing versus it happening live. Does that make sense?
Right.
Like, they had the audio and then they put imagery on top of the audio. And so people took it as a truth, we landed because the audio and the imagery matched up. And in our brain, we were like, yup, okay, that happened. You know what I'm saying? But did it really? Or could I present information the same way and tell you that based on the information I'm presenting you, that such and such has validated as true? You know, we have a lot of government agencies that validate things as true to get your consciousness to be like, makes sense. Okay.
That's why there's so many different realities, because there are people out there who actually wholeheartedly believe that the moon landing happened, and how dare anybody else say that it didn't happen? And then the other people are like, it could have never happened. How dare it be? I'm in the middle, and I'm a hypothesizer. I'm like, well, if it really did happen, why did we never go back? There must be a reason. So there's like, you know, I don't really care.
Right.
And it's like that.
I want people to understand, because, you know, in online space, people take sound bites and they go wild with it, right? We're not saying these things didn't happen. We are saying, how can you be sure that they did? Those are two different scenarios. One is definitive and the other is merely asking a hyperbolic question, as if you cannot validate it in your five senses, how do you know it to be true? The same way that you're invalidating the spiritualness that we are deemed weird for, you're invalidating it because you can't prove it, you can't touch it, you can't do this and you can't do that. Then how do you know anything that you believe as truth is truth if you haven't validated it yourself in your being? I'm just saying, if you're going to say it one way, let it be applicable across the motherfucking board. That's all I'm saying, but that may be my Libra stellium. Like, it's just like, you can't have both.
Like, I'm with you on that. It is. It's like, keep it even across the board. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. Don't hate the player. I'm like,
we are literally are not age right now.
We're out there existing in the shit that exists, and they mad at us. No,
we're real at our age right now because I automatically knew what that sentence was going to be, and you tried to stop yourself, but you couldn't. It was like, no, it's there. We are 90s babies, man. I hate to play, I hate the game. We had a lot of comebacks in the 90s. But I wanna share this with our like Patreon individuals. So speaking of Patreon, you can join the Patreon and get nice perks as extended audio with conversations that happen either before or after. I also upload readings, monthly energetic readings. We do movement sessions monthly to ground yourself in the energy, and all those other things can be over on the Patreon. I will be adding my Manifestation 101 course that runs for like $4.97 as a Patreon. So you'll have that as Patreon as well. And you can find that at patreon.com, Let's Get Blunt Podcast, or you can click below. But I can't wait to see you.